Hello and welcome to my unboxing of the ASUS P8Z77-V motherboard. We're going to have a quick look at some of the features of this motherboard that are on the front of the box. Then we're going to get straight into the accessories that are included and then the motherboard itself. So if we start from the top right, we have PCI Express 3.0. We have Dual Intelligent Processors 3 Smart Digit Plus, which I don't really know too much about, so I'll just leave that. We are ready for NVIDIA SLI. We have AMD Crossfire support, Virtu MVP, which is a great feature that uses your onboard GPU that's on your CPU to accelerate graphics performance. We have DTS Ultra PC2, DTS Connect, and of course this is the Intel Z77 chipset. We have support for Intel Core processors, and this also supports second and third generation CPUs, so the 22 and 32 nanometer CPUs for the LGA 1155 platform. We have support for Intel Smart Response technology. You can't really read that, but that's basically for SSD caching of your mechanical hard drive to speed up performance. And we also have HDMI. If you go to the left now, we have Wi-Fi Go, which supports B, G and N wireless, precise power control, true USB support, network I control, and easy BIOS Flashback. Now easy BIOS Flashback is a great feature as well, because you basically can get the most recent BIOS, put it on your USB stick, put it in a USB port, and then you can press the BIOS button and it will flash it, so you're up to the most recent BIOS. Basically you don't even have to have the PC on, and you don't have to even have a CPU or memory installed to do it, so that's an excellent feature. So that's basically all the main features talked about. I'm not going to show you the back of the box because it goes a bit in depth and I just want to crack on and get into the heart of the unboxing, so be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back with all the accessories removed from the box. I've also got the motherboard out over there too, but let's see what we've got first. So here is the user guide, quite a thick user guide, and on the first page you have included the driver and utilities DVD. I would recommend going over to ASUS to update to the latest drivers first though, and also we have an ASUS case badge included as well, so that's nice. Next we have a quick start guide in many different languages. Next, Wi-Fi Go card user guide. Then we have an exclusive features user guide, which is for the Wi-Fi Go, the Fan Expert 2, Network I Control and USB Charger Plus. A few features that I didn't mention earlier, but it's all included, so have a look in there. Here we have a bit of paper that just says about how to install AHCI drivers in Windows XP. I mean, most people aren't going to be using, you know, this motherboard with Windows XP, so you know, but at least they covered themselves by including that, which is nice. Now for the actual accessories. First up we have a total of 4 SATA cables, 2 of which are 3 gigabits per second and the other 2 6 gigabits per second. The ones with the white tips are the 6 gigabit per second ones, or which you're going to want to use on your most up-to-date SSDs, or anything that uses 6 gigabit per second, to be quite honest. I don't know if there's a real difference between these SATA cables. I mean, they do label them differently, but really I don't know if it makes all that world of a difference. They are right angle to straight on all of them, so you get 4 in total. Next we have the SLI bridge. It is that orangey brown colour that isn't very nice if you've got like a nice matte black PCB on your motherboard and graphics card. Just doesn't look all that great. It is a flexible one though, which is a bit of a plus, but it is also a shorter cable. I would have liked to seen a longer one, but I wouldn't be using this because I use an AMD Pro graphics card. Anyway, next we have some Q connectors, which are basically to allow you to plug in your power LED, your hard drive LED, reset switch, power switch, all that sort of thing into your motherboard. It makes it a whole lot easier if you just plug them all into this first and then slot the whole thing in one go into the motherboard. It just saves you having to fiddle around inside the PC case. It can be very uncomfortable, and it's bad lighting usually, so that's great that they include that. Next we have our I/O shield, nicely color coded, and it also tells you which USB port is best for your Easy BIOS Flashback, and it's basically this green one at the bottom. It's nicely labelled, so that's great as well. Next we have something that's quite special, is our Wi-Fi Go module, which you will plug into your motherboard to allow Wi-Fi access. I think that's really nice that they include this. Very nice and compact, and it comes in its own little anti-static packet as well, which is sealed, which is really nice. And then we also have the antenna for it, which is a circle that lifts up. You can lift the antenna up, and it's magnetic, so you can plug it into anywhere. Well, not plug it in, but attach it to anywhere that's metal on your case, and you can fiddle around where you want to place it so you can get the best reception, which is, it's really nice to include that. Now onto the motherboard, so I'll just take it out of its packet and we'll get into those lovely features. So now I have the motherboard out of its anti-static packet, and at a first glance it is a really good looking motherboard with its black PCB and blue heat sinks. It really contrasts well. It's not too overpowering, it's just quite subtle, and I'd like to say it does look a lot better in person. From when I was thinking about purchasing this, from pictures I just wasn't too sure. It just didn't really look like that great at first, but from the features it had, that brought me to buy it, and then when I got it in person, it really does look the part. Pictures don't do it justice. You've really got to see it for yourself. But apart from the aesthetics, there was some great performance features on this board. It features a 12-phase power design, which is great for if you're going to be doing any overclocking, and that just sold it for me. So I'm going to point out all the features I can think of. I'll hopefully try not to miss anything out on the board. This is the first time I've obviously done an overview of a motherboard. I've done a few other things, but this is a little bit more difficult to get everything in. So firstly, we have at the top our 8-pin power connection for our CPU. If we move across, we have 2 fan headers for the CPU. This is great for if you want to run in a push-pull configuration. If we move across, we have our DIMM slots, 4 of those, and those are for dual channel memory. Will support up to 32 gigabytes of memory, up to 2400 megahertz overclocked. I believe that's what the box states. So that's great. If we move down to the right, we have our 24-pin motherboard power connection. Now straight below that we have another fan header. I should note that all these fan headers are 4-pin PWM, and they have the option to be run with 3-pin fans as well, so you're not tied down to the 4-pin. Right below this fan header we have another fan header, like I say, all 4-pin PWM. There's a lot of fan headers on this board. If we continue down even further, we have 4 6 gigabit per second SATA ports. Now the navy blue ones are for I believe these are for the SSD caching. This is where you plug in your caching SSD for your mechanical drive into these navy blue ports. Then the white 6 gigabit per second ports are for just if you're running a standard SSD with your operating system on, I guess. And then down below this we have like a baby blue or sky blue, which are for 3 gigabit per second SATA. Below that we have a COM port. I'm not really sure what these are used for, but the board has it. Actually, before I move any further, I did miss a key feature. Here we have a USB 3 header. That's in a great location. You don't want it running along the bottom of the board, because then you've got to have a great big cable coming through, and it's just not very convenient. So that is a pretty well placed USB 3 header. It's great to see that they're doing that now. I've mentioned the COM port. Now lower down we have two switches. Now I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but we have one switch here and another switch here. These are for the TPU and the EPU. Now you can switch these for a one switch overclock. You basically don't have to do anything with the board apart from switch that switch, and I'll flick that switch. You get a nice little overclock, and if you do the I think that's the EPU, and if you do the TPU, that creates better energy efficiency throughout the board. So I don't know a huge amount about these things, these technologies, but at a glance that's what I read about them. If you go at the bottom, we have our header for our motherboard connections, like your power LED, your power switch, your hard drive light indicator, all the reset switch, all that sort of thing. And this is where you put out your Q connectors that I showed you in the accessories. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 USB 2 headers in navy blue, so you know what they are. If we continue along, we have a TPM header. Further along, not sure what that is, I can't see it labelled. Spit if out. Continuing along up the board, we don't have a whole lot going on. Leads us to the I/O. I'll move into the centre of the board. We have obviously our LGA 1155 socket, and I've got the protective cover on it. You don't want to break those pins. Above we have our VRM. We have our nice aluminium heatsinks in blue with our sort of cityscape effect on them. A bit like a equalizer, a graphic equalizer maybe, with a pitch going up and down. And like I mentioned before, we have our 12-phase power delivery, which is really nice and beefy for get that good overclock. If we move further down, we have another fan header, 4-pin fan header. So this board has 5 in total, which is really great for a board of this level, almost entry level, sort of mid-range. Now let's have a look at the connectivity for our PCI. We have a PCI Express 1X, PCI Express 16X, PCI Express 1X, PCI Legacy port, if you have any old connections, a PCI Express 8X, and another PCI Legacy port. And then at the bottom we have one PCI Express 4X, nicely color coded so you know what are the same. And that's about all the connectivity that I can think of on this board. So I'm going to flip the board around a bit so I can show you the I/O connections. So here we are on the back of the motherboard, looking at the connections, and firstly we have a PS2 combo port for either mouse or keyboard. Still like to see these. Below that we have 2 USB 3 ports. Then if we move along, we have 2 USB 2 ports, which is recommended that you use for your keyboard and mouse. I think they want you to do this because if you tried using the USB 3 ports, the drivers aren't readily available, they need to be installed. So it's more likely if you just plug them straight into USB 2 that they will work right off the bat. Moving along, we have optical audio out, then we have HDMI, display port, VGA, DVI, then we have an Intel Gigabit Ethernet for our LAN, then we have another 2 USB 3 ports, and lastly our 7.1 onboard audio. Now there is a couple of things I did forget to mention while going over the features of this motherboard, quite important features actually. If we look above the 24-pin ATX motherboard power connection, we have the Memo OK button. Now if you press that, it will allow you to post under any configuration of memory you have. It will set up a clock speed for the memory, it doesn't matter what sort it is, but it'll allow you to get into Windows and post basically. So that's that. And another feature I forgot to mention, I did talk about this but I didn't point it out, is the easy BIOS Flashback button. Now this is located in between these two USB headers down here. So if you press that when you've got your USB stick plugged into the designated flashback USB 3 port, once that's pressed it will update your BIOS to the most current version, providing you've got that on your USB stick, that is. So that's about all the features I've definitely covered. One other thing I could probably say is that obviously this board has a UEFI BIOS. I've never really used one before, so be interesting to see what that's like. But other than that, that's pretty much been my unboxing and overview. First look at the ASUS P8Z77-V Motherboard. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like or a comment. Any feedback's great. And thanks for watching. See you next time.